Hi friend, how are you? Let me ask you this. Are you a musical snob? That's a hard question. If I want to answer this question for myself, so let me tell you that for a great degree, yes, I am, or at least I was a musical snob for a while, and I still have to work every day. I feel that I have to work on my musical snobism to become less and less musical snob. What do I mean by this? You probably have some sense. But let's take an example of a classical musician who study piano and practice Beethoven and Mozart and all those great composers. And then he hears some kind of a pop song on the radio or somewhere and he thinks, that's not real music. That's just some kids playing or something. So that's a classic example for classic music snobism. And you can think of it in any other genre, of course. Also, of course, that the opposite example is also exist where a pop musician or a pop producer who's only making like hits on his Ableton and Cubase, thinking, oh, classic music or jazz music, that's just headache. That's too much, too complicated. And it's for people like sitting in the concert hall that's like so that has this kind of old feel that's not relevant for today. So that's also kind of to be a music snob from the other side. And the reason I want to speak about it is because, I think that to be a music snob is something so common among us musician and creative people because we are practicing mostly when we are starting in one area. If we're studying classic music or jazz music or to produce electronic music or to write song or to sing musicals, whatever it is, we start by practicing in one area. And then we feel that this area is like the ultimate truth of music. That's like the most important part of music everywhere. And of course, it's also can happen with listeners, and it is happens with listeners, not only musicians, people that only love, you probably know, people that only love rock music from the 60s and 70s, and everything that comes after, that's not real music, that's just garbage. And of course, the other way around, people that love music of today and say that in the 60s and the 70s, they were just warming up for today. So it can go from any angles to any place. And it's really interesting when you start to take notice of it, because at least in my experience, I found that everyone around me, including me myself, of course, are music snobs for some degree. Some people are more open to discover new genres and new songs and new things, but some are really locked on their musical perspective. And I think that is why it's important to speak about it, because to be locked on your musical perspective, I think it's like the biggest damage you can do to yourself. You are not hurting anyone else except of yourself. Maybe you're insulting a little someone who is a fan of the Beatles and you say that the 60s and the 70s it's not real music, but they don't really care. They just love the music. But you're hurting yourself because you don't allow yourself to discover new musical possibilities, right? And it all starts from this mindset, from this attitude of I know which music is the best, I know which genre is the best, what I'm doing is the best, and I don't care about your electronic music, or I don't care about your classical music, or I don't care about your world music or any kind of folk music that comes from weird places around the world. I mean, there is a spectrum for this snobism, but I'm sure that you understand what I'm speaking about if you are love music and you're making music. And this is what I want you to take away from this video. Ask yourself in which areas in my creative art, am I snob to other parts? And I think that if you ask this question really from your heart, you'll see that there are areas that you are a bit snob toward. And you can ask yourself, what will happen if I'll just, you don't have to like any other genre, and you don't have to make a genre that you don't like your to start. If I don't like, let's say, classical music, so it doesn't mean now that I have to start listening to classical music, so I won't count for a classical snob. But I also don't have to hate this music, and that's the difference, because of course that I have preference like anyone else. We have musical preferences, and it's fine to have preferences, but don't hate other genres, because when you hate other genres, you are just hurting yourself. So it's good to know your preferences. What are your likes? What are your dislikes in the musical area? But also know what are your hates, and try to don't hate them anymore. Just accept that there are other genres and other people who like different kinds of music, and that it's fine. Today there are room for everyone. So that was about it. If you want to say anything about this music snob idea, I would recommend you to leave a comment. I would like to hear what you think about it, and we'll speak soon. Bye.